Hey guys, my name is Joey Thomas, entrepreneur and small business educator here with 17 Hats. And today I am excited to have Sara Alepin with District Bliss. Hi, Sara.
Hi, thanks so much for having me, Joey.
Your tree with the big leaves back there makes me want to be at a beach right now. And so,
My bird of paradise.
Yeah, is that what that's called?
Yeah.
And I see you like plants. I see more stuff on the left, like ivy and all of that stuff.
Yes.
I've always had good intentions with keeping plants alive. They were just good intentions, though. It didn't work out too well in my favor. But thank you, Sara, for being here with us.
This guy's fake.
Oh, is it? Oh, you don't have to tell us.
It's okay. Transparency is important.
Right. Okay, so District Bliss, you're with District Bliss. Welcome, and you're one of our 17 Hats ambassadors. And what I'm excited about today, it's a topic that I really love, and I've talked about before. But you are the genius behind this, and we're talking networking today. So, with that said, tell us a little bit about District Bliss first of all.
So we are a community of introverted and extroverted business owners who are sick of that stodgy style networking, and we're ready to break free so that we can build our businesses with ease and find the people we need in order to do that.
Stodgy style. So tell me a little bit about the problems you have found with networking or the stodgy style of networking in the past.
A little bit of my origin story, I guess, here. So when I started District Bliss, it was because I was a photographer, and I'd go to networking events and it would be all closed off circles, which is problematic to start with. But then when I would introduce myself to people, and you're probably going to relate to me on this, they would say, "Oh, what do you do?" I would say, "I'm a photographer." And they would say, "Oh, I'm a photographer. I don't need to know you," and turn around and ice me out of the circle.
Everybody should just hold signs up, that says, "Hey, I'm a, venue owner."
Yeah.
Come talk to me, right? Like that's pretty much what people wanted.
Right? Yeah. So the poor planners too. Oh my gosh.
How did you turn that on its head? So what are you doing differently that prevents that type of, networking?
It's focused less on talking about yourself and more about learning about the person you're interacting with, which is, networking is like any other relationship where you have to nurture the person that you're talking to. You have to know who that person is. And if you're just the one filling the space all the time and not leaving any room for them to talk about what they do, that's not a good start to a relationship, whether it's a network relationship or any other sort.
Oh my gosh, this sounds like a marriage podcast.
I might have one of those.
You might. Do you?
It's called the wedding dish.
Oh, there you go. Because that sounded exactly like what some people need to hear in relationships. Good job, Sara. At least you're consistent amongst your brands. That's good. That's good. All right. We'll talk about that later. That's awesome. I truly didn't know that. So that was good. That was good. No, that sounds fantastic. And it's true, when we do networking, we have this very selfish approach when it comes to doing that. It's what can I get out of it? And I remember being at a John Maxwell conference, and he got up on stage, and it was this one line. This was many years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And I remember he said this one line, and he said, "I wake up every morning and I ask myself one question: who can I add value to today?" And that has directed him as a leadership guru, internationally. And I never forgot that. And when we walk into a room, if we could just look out and just understand, wow, there's a lot of unique stories in this room. How can I add value to these people? It just changes the game, doesn't it?
Oh, completely. And how can I assist them, and what resources can I share that would be of value to that person, and help them accomplish whatever their goals that they're coming into this space with.
Tell me, when you started District Bliss, what was that transition like? Like, what triggered going from a photographer to say, "Hey, I'm gonna create a opportunity here for people to network"? I mean, what happened?
I just hated the networking events so much. And I'm such an extrovert. Like I could not be more of an extrovert. So it was like just grueling and it was painful and it was discouraging. And then I would not want to go. And for me to not want to attend an event, that's like a big deal. I'm not the kind of person who like says, well, it's raining, I'm going to bail. I'm the kind of person who's like, dang it, it's raining, I better leave early.
Yeah. Did you start it on your own or did you start it with other people?
Originally, I had another partner also named Sarah.
Yes.
And we expanded to LA together from the DC area and to New York together. New York is a beast that I wasn't willing to take on by myself. So we don't do a lot there anymore, but it's just so complicated for, not having boots on the ground. But yes, we started it together and she was having the same experience, but opposite, where she was a wedding planner. So she was getting all these people who were like just swarming her. Like she was the hottest girl at the dance. Because the photographers were all thinking like, oh, well, if I get in with the planner, then I'll get referrals from the planner. And the venues were like the plan, whereas like to me, I'm always like the venue's actually the sweet spot because they're the ones that get booked first.
Yeah. And
but
so
either way, every connection you make there has value.
and what was that transition like? I mean, the first few years, because from what I remember, you told me you started this back in 2014. So it's been about 8 years now.
So initially we started throwing them without any sort of business plan. It was just because we wanted networking events that made sense and felt good, where you were excited to go. And also we set them up almost as like, to speak in photography terms, like a styled shoot. So it was dressed as an event so that vendors could actually highlight what they offered. So we'd bring in like a florist who would be our featured florist. And then a photographer that would capture the event, and then everyone could go to their website and download the photos and tag everybody on social media. And this was like Instagram was barely alive back then. And now those are kind of normal events, but back then we were just trying to throw something that felt good to attend. And then we kind of realized we had to transition into charging for them in order for it to be sustainable. One, because it was just so much work for us. And two, because if you have some skin in the game, you show up a little bit differently to an event. And we had some people who came to, I have a funny story, although it's touches on inappropriate, but we started
We have
charging.
a very mature audience. You're fine.
We're adults here.
That's right.
So we ended up starting to charge because this woman contacted us and she was like, hey, can I come and set up a booth? And we were like, we don't do booths. She's like, well, I want to showcase my lingerie. And I was like, okay, but we don't do booths and there isn't like really a way we can make that happen. But you know what, if you come, like people are going to be really excited to learn about your business. We're all supportive people here. And she ended up wearing her lingerie on the outside of her clothing in order to showcase
I had
it.
a feeling you were going there.
And that was when we were like, you know what, I think we need to start charging. Like people don't show up with their lingerie on the outside.
Yeah, right. Hey, have you seen the runways? You can do anything you want.
That's true. That is true.
Right?
And we support most things. It was just like it was a very hard selling move. That was what bothered me about it. It was like,
I get it.
I'm not willing to fall in line. I'm not willing to play by the rules. Screw you and the horse you rode in on. And I was like, that's not the like-minded people we want here.
That's right. So in talking about networking, when you first started, what do you think your greatest challenge was in running this business, as you're trying to grow it, just maybe you and another person, or maybe when it was just you, what was your greatest challenge?
Well, back in 2014, we were really breaking the mold because there weren't networking events where you could show up and it was very much the business cards pass out game was the 2014, like up until that point. So we had to kind of overcome a lot of questions. Like, why are you doing this? There was a lot of very suspicious, why would you be hosting these events? And it was not for nefarious reasons. It was because I was tired of going and cutting like 600 business cards and not remembering a single person, or getting added to everyone's newsletter. Like, just because I give you my business card does not mean that I want to be on your newsletter. If I am not going to be your client, don't add me. And now, of course, there are some rules surrounding those kinds of things, but it was just kind of, it was a lot of like having to be very clear with intentions, transparency, and very clear in our marketing language, to try to make sure people knew what they were coming to and what was expected, which was, and we still occasionally would get some people who would come and they would do the business card game, but they weren't the kind of people that came back.
Yeah.
And those weren't the kind of people who hung around. They realized quickly they weren't going to see ROI from a return on investment for showing up in that way at that type of event. And they didn't believe that they were going to see it from the type of event where, people are welcoming and excited to meet you and really want to learn about what your challenges are in your business, as opposed to talking about just, hi, here's my elevator pitch, here's my card, nice to meet you, goodbye.
From what you said, it kind of reminds me of the idea of a brand story. The better you have your brand story, what you're about, the better you can serve the clients that are wanting your service or wanting to be a part of your group, right? And if that brand story, that brand messaging isn't tight and clear with, hey, here's our problem, here's the solution, here's why I'm the expert to solve the solution, and here are the steps to take it, right? And here's what your life is going to be like if you do, right? It's so that is, if you paint that picture, the better you do that for any business, the easier it's going to be to grow your business, because you get the right people, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And that was kind of hard because nobody really understood the language we were using, because nobody had done events like that before.
It's funny, we were talking about back in 2014, and we're talking as if back in the day, we used to send pigeons to network to each other. Right? So like, several times we're like, oh, we had to cut those business cards out. Like it was a whole different era, right? But it feels that way with the way technology goes. Now we're just tapping phones, right? There's no business cards.
Yeah, you've got like a QR code that,
That's right.
I mean, maybe you do have business cards, but there's a lot of technology to avoid having them.
I still like business cards, okay?
Me too. Especially when they're like fun and have something on them that is interesting. Like, I love the ones that have like jokes on them and things.
But okay, so now talking networking. Our audience is we have a wide array of clients in 17 hats that run their businesses, but we have a large group that are probably in their first few years of just starting a business. And, networking is powerful, but many don't know how to go about it. Some tips that if you do go to a network, what do you look for? How do you act when you get there? And what's my end goal? So Sara, can you give us just a few tips on just for the person who's trying to expand their network? Why is it important? What do we need to do? And what the heck, like, how does it work?
I'm going to hit this from in person and online because they are different, even though they overlap. So in terms of like going into an online event, we're going to just touch on this briefly. You want to have essentially a Google Doc or something that can be accessed from whatever you are logging in from. So, which is why I like something cloud-based. But you want to have all of your things that would be on your digital business card that you can put in the chat if it's appropriate. And it is always a read the room situation. Like at our events, we always let everyone introduce themselves. They get 45 seconds. Then we ask them to drop their little, like what their business is, what the primary benefit is, and then the links so that people can connect with them afterwards. So social media and website, generally speaking. Mm-hmm. You also want to have your alternative pieces that you can share that are resources that could be potential lead gen for you. So if you have a freebie that is, let's say, a networking cheat sheet, which is my general freebie, then you can drop that if it's appropriate into, if it's a, hey, someone wants to know about like how to like best practices for networking, then I can say, you know what, I have a free resource. You can get on my email list. It'll get emailed to you. You can unsubscribe at any time, but it allows people to opt in to get on your email list.
Yeah.
So anything that you have like that, have that available in like a document so you can put it in the chat if it's appropriate. Again, it always should be on the terms of whoever is hosting this event.
Awesome.
If it's in person, what I like to do as an extrovert, and introverts, I would encourage you to look at this in the opposite direction. But I like to find someone who looks like they would rather not be there. They're generally looking at their phone, or they're like kind of like they're hoping that they can just shrink into something.
Yeah.
So I like to find that person, and I like to introduce myself and then make that person my networking buddy. The reason being, I am extroverted. I'm happy to like be the one that talks. In the introductions, because I know it's so much harder for you to introduce yourself if you're shy or quiet, and introversion can manifest in many different ways, not to say every introvert is shy or whatever. But I know my strengths. So I like to take that person around. I like to get to know what they're up to, what their business is. And then I like to introduce them, because a couple things. First of all, it opens up the circle a lot more, because we just naturally stand in circles at networking events. I try not to ever do that, but we do. It's human nature. So it opens up the circle better when it's two people than when it's one. And also, it's very generous to introduce someone else. So immediately, all the barriers that exist in that circle are broken down because you've done something nice for someone else.
Awesome.
And you're not walking up and you're saying, hi, this is who I am. This is what I do. And like, please talk to me. Instead, you're doing something kind. So it's nice to kind of find a person that you feel comfortable with in either direction, and then kind of make them your networking buddy if that makes the most sense and feels right. Always gut check yourself.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of actually finding a networking event, whether it be online or in person, I think it's really important to look at the branding, look at the words that they're using, and really look at the imagery they're using. You'll get to know a lot about the brand by the imagery that they're actually choosing. If it's a graphic that has 7 fonts on it and you've been in business for over 10 years, then you're kind of, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
Not to, you got a screen. And so that's going to tell you that person doesn't necessarily have the same level of experience. Maybe your target demo is that person who is looking, or who has that level of experience where they're putting 7 fonts on. In that case, definitely go to that event. If you're looking for people who are sitting more at your level of expertise, who are making, have similar, what would be potentially the income that your ideal clients would have, then, look at all of those things. Because more than anything, you want to feel like you belong when you get there. And if you show up to something where you feel like you don't, it's very discouraging. And then it's really hard to go back.
What's the ultimate goal? I think those are fantastic tips. In the first one, with the online one, I really liked, because we came back to adding value by giving those freebies, right? Let's start by giving instead of trying to take.
Yeah.
Right. Because, we know what it feels like to be around takers all the time. Yeah. And we tend to try to avoid that when we're voluntarily being, somewhere. And so, it's easier. Yeah. They're not all voluntary. Right. And so it's easier to be around people when they're wanting to give. And so that's important. And I love that. I love finding someone that looks just as awkward, if not more awkward than you are. So that's great. So let me ask you this. What if a person starts networking, and if they're thinking about growing their business, right? Like you said, like, let's say wedding photographers, for example, they're always looking for two particular people, right? Like whether it's venues and planners. I think it's easy to get pigeonholed, to have tunnel vision in doing that, right? And so, and then you get discouraged because you're not one of the popular ones and you didn't get to talk to, the people that you wanted to talk to, right? It happens so many times. I remember when I first started going, oh my gosh, I felt so awkward. And because you were right, everybody's in their circles and, they're like, it's great. Sometimes you got to just butt in too,
Yeah.
and so, and I had to do that. But we have to approach everything with a purpose, everything with an end goal in mind. And we're not always going to get there with the first networking event, right?
Yeah.
So what's the ultimate goal? Why should someone network?
So the ultimate goal can be a million different reasons that you actually need to attend a networking event, because you might be looking to hire, you might be looking to client care sometimes is referring to another, if you're a photographer, a different photographer, because if that's not your ideal client and they have to spend their entire wedding day with you, if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. And it's a bad situation for everybody. So sometimes client care is not taking the client. But actually, like, networking in terms of like the benefit for you is that shared level of knowledge, that pooled knowledge, the shared resources, the shared experience too, the life experience. Like, my husband does not want to sit and listen to me talk about, how I could not figure out why this blog wasn't publishing or something. Like, he's never gonna be interested in that.
I'm sure you like to talk, and given how extroverted you are, he must be a great listener.
He's super introverted.
Good find.
Thank you.
Right. So,
but those shared experiences are also valuable, and it's kind of, knowing you're not alone. There is a huge, if nothing else, knowing that your tech failed at this time and you can talk to somebody about it and they will either commiserate with you or help you with a different level of knowledge or different shared experience. It's all of those things are really, really valuable. Being able to troubleshoot with other people who have similar experience to you, who maybe have, more experience in the tech branch or the marketing branch, and you have more experience in the client conversion from sales calls. Having that like ability to troubleshoot together when something inevitably does arise in your business is also totally invaluable. And I mean, referrals is a huge obvious answer, because, when people respect you and want you to, and really love what you do, they're going to refer to you, whether or not, you ask them to. But referrals to people who can support you. So if you're struggling with social media, you may need a referral to a social media manager. And then that person, you want the person that's the right fit. So you don't, instead of going through and doing all that research yourself, going through and asking your people who know you, who love you, who want you to succeed, and who have had similar experiences, they are able to help you with that screening process. So you don't have to spend hours doing research and interviewing different candidates for VAs. And, so the opposite of what we think of as referrals is also equally important.
A lot of our viewers, they're businesses of one, they're solopreneurs, right? And so one of the hardest things when I first started in business was having ideas that I wanted to talk about, but nobody to talk to.
Yeah.
that was really difficult. And so you have this little conversation in your head, and sometimes you're not always right. And so you're just bouncing around ideas that aren't expanded enough, that they're not wide enough, right? And sometimes we want to widen our knowledge, and that's true. It's just hearing different perspectives even allows us to make better decisions in the end. So it's like having a team without a team, and of course, eventually you figure out who you want to listen to and who you can't, right? You figure that out. So those were fantastic tips. So let me ask you this. you have District Bliss and you have a couple of podcasts, correct? What are the names of your podcasts?
So I have The Wedding Dish, which is a podcast. I'm very punny. I love puns. So of course we dish about all things weddings, which is entrepreneurship. We talk about the wedding planning process. We interview both, the royal we, I interview both wedding professionals and people who have gotten through the wedding planning process. So whether couples are married or engaged, I interview them as well. So it's really fun. It's just it's a great inspirational piece, and I try to tackle things that we don't necessarily talk about. So even from things like taxes, what does that look like when you get married, and how does the day of the year that you get married or change your last name, how could that impact your taxes at the end of the year?
And you have a second podcast.
Yes. So my other podcast is called Laughing with Gingers. I'm a redhead, and my co-host is also a redhead. So we do a lot of, we play trivia games. We share a lot of historical information, and we just generally enjoy. We do myth busting. We have an episode that's the best places to vacation as a redhead when the sun is just trying to murder you all the time. And she describes the location and I have to guess it. So the first one was the Faroe Islands because it's so cloudy there all year.
So with all of this going on, you have a lot going on.
Yeah.
Right? You have a lot going on, and you are a 17 Hats ambassador, which means you probably use 17 hats, I'm guessing, right? And so,
you know what I do.
So tell me how do you feel 17 Hats has helped you with all of these different things that you have to organize?
Oh my God, I could not do it without 17 Hats. The automation, the reminders, the tracking that invoices are paid and contracts or guest agreements, depending on which one we're talking about here, are signed, making sure that I have all my questionnaires completed and the reminders that go out associated with that. Because if we're bringing in a workshop leader to talk about social media, then we need the information they're going to talk about so we can build the event platform. Well, we've got to gather that. So and then that sends the reminders. I mean, all the automation without that would be absolutely impossible for me to manage all the things that I do. And I'm really lucky that I set it up in 2014 so that I could continue to expand out in the 8 years that I've been using 17 Hats. So that I could bring in a podcast. It was feasible. I wasn't going to drown. And then I could bring in another podcast. That was feasible. I wasn't going to drown.
It's true. It's if you don't have a system like that, right, that helps you organize it all and becomes you can be this 10-handed monster at this point. And, without that, it can really feel overwhelming if you're starting a new line of business.
Yeah. I mean, also the other piece is I want to stress here that I do not work in the evenings. I start my day. I don't schedule anything before 11. I generally am not sitting at my computer until 10 in the morning, and I am done by latest 7. And that's, if I just really if I have something that's due that I really just need to sit down and buckle down. I do not work on weekends. I don't overextend anything. And because I just refused, I hate that hustle culture. It's just not for me. I think it should go away for everyone. And I'm taking 3.5 weeks off in November to go to the Maldives and then Paris. So
that's awesome. So guys, everybody who's listening right now, if you want to go to the Maldives and to Paris, start using 17 Hats right now. Right. That's the message. That's the message we've gotten here today.
It's true.
That's awesome.
I wouldn't be able to do those things without the systems in place that make all of these things run and keep me legally protected too, with the contracts and the invoices and all the things that, because that's a big piece. I don't have to worry that my business won't run without me. It will run amazing. Without me.
So Sara, where can we find more about you? Where are you on social media?
So, on Instagram, I'm at District Bliss Events. And we share lots of business building stuff there. And we also share the events that we're hosting and things. So if that is something you're interested in, we host workshops and networking socials, although everything you attend is a networking event too. Just remember that when you make that document, have it open, even if it's a workshop, because you should connect with the people you
100%. Yes.
No matter how you meet them.
Yeah. You know, I own a few businesses, and everything I do, I am always looking for every opportunity. Like you said, a workshop, just even being at a coffee house, just whatever it is, I'm just looking for any opportunity, because, you know, what we do, if we run a business, it's typically to serve someone else. And if we want to serve someone else, the more we connect with them, the more we engage with them, the more we have a conversation with them, the better we know who we're serving ultimately. And so don't shy away from that, you know, and we don't all have to do it the same way, right? I mean, there's extroverts and introverts. We don't have to do it the same way. And ultimately, if you use your own superpowers, people can appreciate that. You can be an introvert and be highly accepted and included, as well as being an extrovert. And so I think what I've heard today, this is amazing. I know that people watching this are going to take from that. And really, because, you know, as we're going into really the tail end of 2022, can you believe it? And we're going into 2023, and we do have to start really thinking about expanding our network. If we want to grow, we have to get out there. And now that we know what it feels like being stuck at home for a couple of years, right? Take the opportunity and get out there and build it just in case we ever come to another point where we're stuck at home again. We have a bigger network to be stuck with, right?
Yes.
Right?
And we have a bigger network that will help us overcome the hurdles of being stuck at home.
That's right. Well, Sara, thank you so much. I think that was really enlightening. It was very fun. You seem like a really fun person to talk to. So you guys go listen. The Wedding Dish, Laughing with Gingers, right? And go follow District Bliss, where you can get more of Sara. And guys, if you have not subscribed to the 17 Hats channel or liked this video, it's time to do that right now and turn on that notification bell. And we'll be back with more small business owners just like Sara, doing it big, right? With 17 Hats and sharing all of this great knowledge. Well, thank you again, guys, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you again, Sara.